In this set of exercises, we're going to look at creating selections and playing with brushes. Now, in order to do that, we're going to take different parts from different images and we're going to create them into a whole. So we're going to piece together little parts of different images. This is important when you want to move stuff around, move pixels around in an image, or add pixels from another image. So we need to know various ways to make selections. Selections are also important when we want to either protect part of an image or limit the editing to a certain part of the image as well. So there's a lot of different things that we do with selections, and it's really important that we understand how they work. So we're not going to learn every single way there is in Photoshop to make a selection, but we'll look at most of the big ones. And this is going to give you a good overview of selections, and as you get more experience, you'll learn more and more about them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take different images here that I downloaded off the internet. So there's a torso, there's a head, there's an eyeball, arms, and this project is one that I like to call Frankenstein. So we're going to cut up different pieces and we're going to put together a whole person. Now, in order to do that, we're going to need a document that's the right size, that's going to give us enough space to put everything together. So we're going to start out in Photoshop and we're going to create a new document. So we're going to go to File, New, and we want that document to be in pixels. And we're going to make that document 3300 by 5500. And the resolution of 72 should be fine. And we want the background contents. It doesn't really matter what color we have the background contents, but we can choose here between a background color or transparent. I think it might actually let us choose whatever the background color is right now, which is white. So if we want a different color background, what we need to do is change this background color before we go and create the image here. So let's say we wanted blue, or we wanted this gray here. We could just sample this gray that was on this image here. I had this already open, so. And then when we go to File, New, again, we're going to go 3300 by 5500, and we're going to use the background color and click OK. So that is our new document there, and from here we can start taking pieces of our other images and copy and paste them into here, and then move them around, organize them until we get the image that we're looking for, our Frankenstein image. So we're going to start out with the torso, and there's a couple different tools that we can use to select this torso right off. Probably one of the easiest tools to use is the quick selection tool here. Now the quick selection tool doesn't have very many options here. It's pretty much a single shot here, and you just have to get the brush size correct. So I'm going to make it a little bigger here, and I don't need to select that metal piece, but you can see here, if I drag this thing all the way across here, it pretty much gets most of the image. Now I'm missing a tiny bit over here and a tiny bit over here. If I zoom in, I might be able to see that a little better, and we can see that there are a lot more spaces than we thought was missing. So let's go ahead and grab the tool again, and we can kind of fine-tune our selection here by making the brush a little smaller and then adding to whatever we didn't select there. Now see, you'll see at first it kind of looks a little rough, but then it snaps to a little tighter there to get you a nicer selection there. So it's looking for an edge is what it's doing. And when we get too much there, if you hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, you can get the minus here, or you can switch it up here and try to get a little better here. So I don't know how much better we're going to get here by doing this, but you can try to get as much of it as you can. So that did pretty good there, and we'll see how that works. Okay, it missed a little bit right here. Try to get that. Kind of yucky there. So I'm going to subtract that little bit there. See if that helps. Doesn't look like it wants to pick it up for me. But I want to have a smooth line there, so getting these rough ones, this is going to be weird when we go and look at it. It's not going to be really the smooth transition there. So the next thing that we're going to do is use a tool called Refine Edges. We're going to refine this edge and try to get it a little smoother. And what Refine Edges is going to show us is what it looks like. And actually, before we do that, I want to see the whole thing one-to-one. Just double click the hand here. So it's going to show us what it's going to look like, what the selection is going to look like with a light background. Okay, it doesn't look that great, does it? It looks kind of crappy. So the first thing I like to do is start by looking at the edge detection here. So this is the size of where it's going to refine here, this radius here. We can do Smart Radius, and I think pretty much it's going to do it automatically. It'll automatically set where the radius is. But I kind of like to set the radius around 9, and you'll see what happens when I set it here. So it's selected a little more of it here, and now we can start smoothing it. I usually drag smoothing up to about 60, and you'll see what a difference this makes when we bring this here. See how it's smoothed everything out here? Did a pretty nice job. And if we want a really hard edge, we can add contrast here, and this will harden the edge a little bit, or you can bring it back. It might not make a difference. Doesn't seem to be making too much of a difference in this image. I'm going to shift the edge a little, so the edge is going to be pixels on either side of the selection that we're going to shrink or expand the selection. So I'm going to actually shrink the selection here to see if I can get a little tighter. Now it looks pretty good except for maybe in these parts here. And another thing that I can try doing is adding to, refining the radius, so adding to the radius or erasing part of the radius. So I want to see if I can erase this little bit around here, see if it will let me. And it looked like that helped a little bit. So you can just play with it until you get it to where you feel it's acceptable. Now that added just a bunch there, so I don't know if I really want to do that. I could try cleaning this edge up a little bit. So again, it's all going to depend on how perfect you want it to be. Moving these sliders back and forth. Now what feather is going to do is it's going to give a gradual transition or a fade into the edge. And see how soft that is now. So it's fading into the edge. Sometimes that might be appropriate, but other times not. So let's go ahead and stop there, and you can refine it even more if you want by playing with these tools. I want to output this to a selection because I want to be able to copy and paste it. So let's click OK. And then now it's a selection, and I can copy and paste it to my other document. So Control C, and it's in the clipboard now. And I can go over here and I can Control V or Command and paste. Or you can go up here and do Edit, Copy, and Edit Paste. So Control or Command C is copy, Control or Command V is paste. And those are some of the things I think you should memorize. Now look, this looks really good here. I think it copied over really well with the color background we have here. It looks really smooth, it looks really nice, it looks, you know, fairly realistic here. So I don't have a problem with that. We can stop right there. Okay, so now that we got this layer here, I'm going to move it up a little. So the V key, to hit V, will give you the move tool and allow you to move pixels. So let's kind of move it up here, center it a little bit, probably about there. And then let's start adding parts. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is add the head. Go back to bridge and we'll double click the head. This is a Roman statue or a woman. And again, the first thing I think I want to start with is the quick selection tool. Get it the correct size here and see if we can select it with this tool. A lot of times if there's an edge here, if there's contrast on the edge, this tool will work just fine. Except sometimes stuff like that happens. That's okay. Let's make the brush a little smaller and then we'll do minus with the Alt key. And see if we can't get it in a little tighter. Okay, it looks like I missed a few things here. I'm going to have to add again. A smaller brush probably is going to help me. So you might have to go back and forth a couple times till we get everything where you want it. I just missed a little bit there. That looks pretty dang good. I think I got most of it. So again, we want to do refine edge and see how it looks on a white background. Okay, it's kind of jagged here, and again, to get this jaggedness off, we have to set how much of a radius we want to affect along the selection. And again, I'm finding most of the time around 9 is a good place to start. 9 something. And you can see here it kind of affects this part here. That's okay, it's not going to do anything really bad right now. And especially when we smooth it out, it'll look better. Again, 50-60 seems to work really good. Okay, see all that kind of pitted stuff is now gone. It's all smoothed out. And now we can maybe shift the edge a little bit to try to take care of this stuff here. And if we absolutely need to smooth it out a little more, we can refine the edge or we can subtract from the edge. So let's see if subtracting smooths this out a little bit. Might have made it worse. Oh, it might probably help if I zoomed in. I mean, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you know, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I'm just barely touching it and it seems to be smoothing it out there. Now there's none here, so I might want to add this. And that just made it worse. So let me try the erase tool and see if that adds it to it. Yep. Okay, so that brought it back. Let's see if it does it here. A little bit on her hair there. The rest of it looks pretty dang good. I would say I'm pretty satisfied with that. Okay, so this is the only place here where I had to kind of smooth it up a little bit, and that tool did the job very good. Very well. So double click the zoom tool or the hand tool so we can see it all one-to-one here. And then again, I'm going to save it as a selection. And copy and paste, Command C, and Command V. Now get the move tool again we're going to move this guy up here, and it looks like we're going to have to move everything down. Before we do that, we are going to transform this. So we're going to make these pixels fit the torso a little better. Actually, I'm going to move it down first. I'm going to start labeling these because when I start getting more and more, we're going to get mixed up easy. So this is torso, and then this is the head. So I'm going to move the torso layer down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the head so it fits on the neck. So to do that, I need to make sure I have the head layer selected, and I'm going to do Command T or Control T, or I can do Edit Transform, and then I'm going to drag from the corners because I want to maintain the aspect ratio. I don't want it to be getting thinner or thicker around the edges. And I just drag it until it fits on the neck there. And that looks pretty good. Now with the move tool selected, I can use my arrow keys to nicely select the area here. Now notice I got this little bit sticking out here that's not blending very well. I can move it up too. Let me see if that helps. Oh, I think that's actually fitting pretty well. But if I do have, let me go ahead and zoom in here. Yeah, this little piece that's sticking out here. One of the things I can do to erase that and follow this line here is make a selection with the torso. So I'm going to hold down the Control here key or Command on Mac and click inside the thumbnail. And you can see it's selected the torso pixels. So now that I've made this selection here, what I want to do is I want to invert the selection because I want to erase what's out here. So I'm going to go to Select Inverse, and then I'm going to go to Select, Modify. I'm going to contract. I think I want to contract it by 3. Let's see what that does. Yeah, I think that's going to help. So now with my eraser, there we go. So that's going to fit a little bit better there. Now don't worry about this line here. We're going to take care of this line later. Okay, so the line is going to be something we're going to deal with later. Not only that, but I don't want us to be perfect here. Okay, for now I just want us to be able to try to line things up, and then from there we'll go and play around with that more. Okay, so that's pretty good with the head.